Alrighty, welcome back to my 6-month update into learning Japanese through Immersion, mostly through Refold, to be specific. So I started studying Japanese back in August of 2021, but I didn't really start immersing till around October. So this is about 6 months of study and about 4 months of semi-consistent immersion. This is actually my second time recording this video today. I recorded it when it was light out during the afternoon, but now it's dark out, so is what it is. Super Bowl happened today. Rams won. I'm not too happy about that. I was kind of pulling for the Bengals, but it is what it is. Someone in my last video commented about my dark circles under my eyes, and I know I kind of look like a zombie right now, and I look like I'm sleep deprived as hell, but it just is what it is. That's how I am. Alright, I'm not sure how long this is going to be, but let's just start with talking about my study progress since December, November.
So no head?
Alright, so kanji. On January 1st, I switched over to RRTK, Recognition and Remembering the Kanji, because I kind of realized, even though I said in my last video that I was revising the way I was studying kanji, I realized again on January 1st that I was just dragging out it too long. I was only doing 10 kanji a day. I was about 600 in out of 2,000. Doing almost like a wanikani method, kind of, sort of, not really. And I just realized, okay, well, this is going to take me way too long, and I'm kind of sick of it. So let's just switch to RTK. So that's what I did. And starting it on January 1st, I finished on February 3rd, so basically a month. I was doing about 36 new cards a day on average. Repping usually took me anywhere between half an hour if I was really fast to like an hour plus on days where my focus just wasn't there. But we got through it. I'm done with that now. I've just been repping that the past couple days. I'll be repping it, I don't know, maybe just for however long I feel I need to. But ultimately, I'm really happy to be done with focused kanji study. I don't think I'll be going back to it. I don't think there's any reason to. I think I'm at a level where that's just not necessary. So yeah, happy to be done with RRTK, or the first 1000 Johyo kanji. For vocab, close to finishing the core 2K deck. I've been working on it for however long now, doing 10 to 12 new cards a day. So more than halfway through that, which is great. 2K words in my vocabulary. That's a cool milestone to hit for whatever it's worth. Up until this point, I've only been using pre-made decks, mostly just that deck and some other decks before that I were kind of dabbling in but didn't work out too well. But yeah, once I'm done with that, we'll move on to sentence mining, or just making my own cards once I'm done with that. I've been sentence mining, but I just haven't been making them into cards because my Anki reviews were just way too long and I just didn't feel like making new cards on top of all that. But yeah, I have a good log of sentences to turn into cards for when I'm done with that, so yeah, that's great. And what's next? Grammar. I've read through Takems about once. Some chapters more than once for things that didn't really make sense the first time, and I'm still going back and reviewing it for things I still have to get cemented up in here. But yeah, it wasn't too. I know some people have a lot of trouble getting through Takems because it is pretty graphically unexciting, and the content is, it's grammar. How fun can it be? But I didn't find it too bad, and most of the structures, I think some stick more than others, but I think the only thing to make them stick more is just immerse more, really. Because I do have a conscious understanding of most typical grammar structures, but just to get them to, work right away, just immerse more. Bottom line, immerse. And speaking of immersion, let's talk about how it's been going. I'm by no means an age adder. It's not something that I'm able to just age at all Japanese all the time. It's not really my style. although it's counterintuitive to like the immersion refold method, I don't really feel like I want to reduce English in my life. I just immerse in my free time when I have the time, when I feel like I want to put some time towards it. Um, yeah, you know, I have a lot of interests in English media, such as like sports, such like that. I haven't found anyone Japanese that does this. Like if there was a Japanese person on YouTube or wherever else that did like NHL or NFL coverage, that'd be something I'm really interested in because I could kind of mesh those two worlds together that I don't really know if anyone's out there doing. But yeah, that's how that's been going. On most days, I can usually hit like an hour to 2 hours immersed. Pretty intense focus. But on a good day, I can usually get like 3 hours, or not usually, but like on a good day, I'll get 3 hours, and that's like a kind of like a upper echelon goal I try to hit. But most days I'm not hitting that. Usually 1 to 2 hours, which I feel is good for not being a genuine age adder, fake age adder. All right, reading. I haven't been reading all that much. I'm just not a reader. I know in my last video I was talking about how I was reading on uh, it was an app called Today or something. It was just like easy Japanese news or whatever. Um, and that was pretty good, but then I just kind of stopped doing it. I stopped having it be a habit. Um, I tried reading manga, but I couldn't really find a comfortable way to read. Not to mention that I just don't find it inherently interesting. Maybe I will in the future when, you know, things are just like understood more more instantly. But I guess the only way to get there is to just immerse more, read more. But I still get reading input from like Twitter, YouTube, Immersion, like watching a show, playing games. I've turned the games that I can turn into Japanese, just like change the language setting to Japanese, like Overwatch. I can't turn all games into Japanese. Like Lost Ark came out the other day. I've been playing that and I wanted to turn it into Japanese because I thought like, okay, well this new game came out, I'm really interested in it, I want to play it a bunch. But I can't turn it into Japanese, so that's a bit of a bummer. But games that I can turn into Japanese, I do try to. But in terms of trying to read more, I downloaded a link on my phone. That's Steve Kaufman's video, my boy Steve. Um, so hopefully there's some good reading content on that. I haven't really checked it out yet, but we'll see. I think it sounds promising. Yeah. And as for listening, listening's been going good. Most of my immersion is almost all listening. Mostly anime, just because I feel like it's the easiest thing to watch. Animelon, great site. Although it kind of kind of craps out on you sometimes, at least for me. I recently watched Relife, which that felt pretty understandable. I got a lot of sentences out of that. And right now I'm watching March Comes in Like a Lion and Nichijou. Nichijou more so for passive listening, or just like semi-active, because it's not it's just too hyper. Yeah. I recently watched Konosuba, maybe like a month or a two ago, just as a rewatch. I didn't feel like I got too much out of that. The language is kind of like too fantasial, eccentric, and the registers change a lot, so I kind of felt pretty lost watching that in terms of content. Even though I've watched the show before, so I knew what was going to happen, in terms of understanding the words, just wasn't there. So, yeah. Final note on like listening. When I feel like I understand something, or like when I'm understanding something, it's actually like a really addictive feeling. Like I hear it, I understand it, and it's like, wow, it feels like magic. Because one of the biggest things in me wanting to learn a language is I just was just so perplexed by how could I view everything in the world and understand everything in the world between a different, like through a different language, through a completely different lens. And that's kind of like a taste of getting there, which is really gratifying, and it's like I really feel the progress when that happens. So whenever that happens, that definitely makes me want to immerse more. So I'm really happy whenever that happens. Um, in terms of immersion as a whole, for logging hours, I've just quit that. I don't think it helped me in any way. I felt like it stressed me out, if anything. Like in the same way that people feel like Anki guilt when they miss a day, I felt like immersion guilt. So I felt like I missed a day of immersion. I'm like, oh man, I gotta do double the next day. And then when I go to log it, I'm like, oh my god, look at all those zeros. I didn't immerse like these days, and I gotta make up for it. And I didn't like looking at that. I didn't feel like it helped me, and ultimately I don't care about the outcome of logging. Like, oh, how far did I get in 1,000 hours? Um, I don't care too much about that. More just about the time frame of like months, like 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. How I've been doing it with these videos. Um, and a lot of the times I would immerse for some amount of time during the day, and then I would just like kind of round the number. So if I immersed maybe like 43 minutes on a day, round it up to an hour. If I read for half an hour, round it up to 45 minutes for whatever reason. So I wasn't being too honest with it, so the outcome wouldn't have been too helpful anyways. Yeah. So that's basically how my studying's been going so far. So let's talk about some goals for the next 3 months, going up to the 9 month mark. By the next 3 months, I'll be done with any pre-made decks, or at least specifically the core 2K deck. I'll be done with that, probably within a month and a half, I suspect. And maybe I'll pick up some other pre-made decks for specific things like pitch accent or very specific vocab, like kind of like anime vocab, like whatnot. I've seen some decks like that. Maybe those could be helpful. On the daily, I'd like to just push my immersion, just make sure I'm immersing more every day. Try to enjoy reading, get back into the swing of reading, and just try to make that a habit that I had a while ago. Kind of dropped it, but I want to get back into it because it's an important facet of it. And maybe hit N3 level. I was doing N4 practice questions the other day, and I felt like I was answering all the questions with relative ease. Some of them I had to earn for a bit if there was a few words being used that I couldn't understand, but could get the gist of it. So N4, I'd say I'm pretty confidently N4, which 6 months in, N4 seems good to me. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But N3 in another 3 months, is that too ambitious? I don't know. We'll see when I get there, but maybe that's not too out of the scope, and if I just immerse a ton, I can get there pretty easily. But I was taking a Japanese class at college last month, and it was all online, so that was kind of like how I got started. But now I'm like at on campus this semester, not taking a Japanese class, but just busy with school ultimately. So once the semester ends, whenever that ends, just full on immersion. You know, when the summer happens, I'm looking forward to really trying to crank out some numbers and really get into it, really make some progress. But besides that all, there's no metrics I'm too focused on hitting, like amount of cards mined, of course logged hours, because I'm not doing that, animes watched, novels read, whatever, just not in my brain space. I'm gonna go for some more water. I'm trying to one take this, so my voice is kind of going all weird. Alrighty, so this is kind of, this section is going to be like just like a bunch of thoughts that I've kind of collected over these past 3 months. So, first one, motivation. Just doesn't feel like an issue to me anymore. I feel like Japanese, just thinking about it, occupies so much of my brain space that I'm not too concerned with motivation anymore. You know, in my last video I talked about I was always trying to rationalize my purpose of immersing or just learning Japanese in general, and I did just keep kind of plowing through, although I couldn't really understand why. But now it just I'm just kind of going through the motions and enjoying it really without any wavering motivation. It just doesn't feel like an issue, which is that's perfect. That's what we love to hear. In terms of studying Japanese grammar, it's kind of made me weirdly aware of English grammar. Like, I'm just hearing someone talk, hearing myself talk, and I'm just kind of thinking about why do we use these certain words in this way and whatnot. And you know how Japanese verbs and adjectives, they all fit into like two nice categories. And I was kind of thinking like what kind of happens like that in English? How do we kind of group those terms of words? And I was thinking occupations in English all kind of end with ER, like teacher, carpenter, just work, construction worker, I don't know, stuff like that. There's a lot of occupations that end with ER. And it's kind of interesting, I guess, more than anything, but ultimately not helpful towards getting better at Japanese, which is kind of funny. But what is kind of interesting is I've been having dreams in Japanese, or sections of my dreams had Japanese in them. Like, when I hear what I'm perceiving as Japanese, it could just be straight gibberish in my dreams, and then I would respond in Japanese in my dream. So that's happened maybe like 3 or 4 times, but it's really interesting. I guess it's just my brain trying to make sense of all this language that I'm putting into my brain every day. But I think that's kind of gratifying because it lets me know consciously that my brain is subconsciously working to really make sense of it. So I like that. One thing I have felt in struggling with getting to myself to immerse is FOMO, fear of missing out. Some days I just don't want to because I feel like something's happening in the English sphere that I'm missing out on if I'm busy kind of isolating myself, immersing. Like if I'll see my friends in a Discord call and they're all talking and it's like just FOMO, you know. I want to be a part of it. I don't want to spend it isolating myself. It just kind of feels bad. But I think I can get over it and just get myself to immerse more, you know. Ultimately, immersion's more important than just sitting in a Discord call sometimes saying nothing for hours at a time. Not hours, but you know, that's how it is. So sometimes I will miss a day on like intense active immersion, but I'm never failing to immerse at least some bit on some level a day. You know, 5 minutes of Duolingo for what it's worth. I'm not using Duolingo, just like 5 minutes at like every day, just in some form to some level getting Japanese outside of Anki. Anki's every day, no problem, easy. But above all else, I feel great that I'm making progress every day. You know, I've managed to make it a habit where I'm studying every day is a non-issue. I just feel like it's a part of my routine. I wake up, get out of bed, do my little routine, and then first thing I'm on my computer, I'm doing Anki, and then I kind of try to bang it out as soon as I can, because then it's just gone. Don't have to think about it. I can get onto immersing, schoolwork, whatever I have to do that day. Some days when I'm like commuting to school on like the bus. That's perfect because like it takes me like 40 minutes to get there. I can bang out all my reps before I even start my day, or like before school starts. And then on the back, I can kind of do passive listening during that, and then on the way back I can do a bit more active immersion with like a podcast or whatnot, just coming back on the bus. That's really helpful. Uh, yeah, it's just every day some progress. That's good. Okay, now I want to talk about something that's happened in the community recently. Project Uproot. I want to give my 2 cents on it. So initially, when I kind of when they kind of like fully told us what this was, I looked into it. I watched all their videos about it, which was really fucking annoying because their website video player didn't allow you to backtrack or skip forward. You just had to watch it from start to finish. I didn't even know if you could pause it. It was pretty annoying. But I watched it all. I ultimately don't think it makes sense, and I don't want to be too critical about it, but I think it's a fucking grift ultimately. The advertising in a way does feel intentionally dishonest, in the way that at one point, okay, so the bottom line of Refold or just immersion in general is just immerse. And then at one point in this Project Uproot video, they were like, okay, well the just immersed approach is great, but blah 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 pitch accent. So, you know, I think I'm not really concrete explaining it, but like if you watch it, you understand what I mean. Um, One problem with it is that there's no concrete evidence that the course will work, and we like for us people that aren't doing it, we have no idea exactly how the lessons are structured. They didn't have any like test run testimonials to prove that it whatever they did work. And I think for the people that are taking it right now, we won't really be able to see for however long until we can see results, and then only then we can really say, okay, this course wasn't a scam, and there is actually some practicality behind it. But ultimately, I do think, even though you know the the top line of Project Uproot was like, if you can study and get to a point of understanding the sound system of the language, then you can accelerate your progress in the language, specifically Japanese. So, how how true can drilling pitch accent into your brain allow you to get better at Japanese quicker? I'm not really sure, but that's the top line of that. And so I'm sure there's some practicality to the course, and I'm sure you would get something useful out of it, even if that isn't true, that claim isn't true. But ultimately, learning pitch accent, it's not detrimental in any way. But that doesn't mean ignore pitch accent if you are someone learning Japanese. Of course, learn pitch accent to some degree, but don't. I haven't done any dedicated pitch accent study yet, although I do plan to in the future. But yeah, it's not it's not life or death, and it's not going to impact me as a person, I guess you could say. And ultimately, I keep saying ultimately too much. I'm using that word too much, but Project Uproot is phonetics. It's like if it's about the sound system, improving your speech, improving your ability to hear, and so it's a lot about developing an accent. But I don't think it's really necessary in that way, because learning Japanese is for a lifetime. It's not we're racing to get to fluency within 3 years, however long, and then be done with it. How good I sound in 3 to 5 years will not be comparable to how good I sound in 10 to 20 years, given that I'm still utilizing the language and still improving in it. You know, my the way I will have a Japanese um, speaking ability in 20 years will be just leaps and bounds beyond how good I could sound after taking Project Uproot uh, and 3 years of progress, you know. So it's really just a natural process, and you really have to consider how far you want to go to like get ahead early, I guess. And another thing is, uh, we as English speakers are so used to hearing um, second language speakers of English speak with accents. You know, it's something we're so used to. And so I could see for like a Japanese speakers, maybe they're not so used to it. They're probably more typically used to hearing like some Western folk, but mostly, maybe not mostly, but like Koreans and Chinese speaking Japanese is probably something they're quite used to some degree. But you know, it's not something I see that second language speakers of English care too much about, specifically with Nordic countries. Like speakers of English from Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they speak some speak phenomenally competent English, but they do have that typical up down Swedish accent, like Swedish chef, you know. But they're still very good speakers in their own right. So, you know, as long as you're not like Steven Spielberg des,
Steven Spielberg des.
you know, you'll be good. That's just my thought. Um, this is a question I have for anyone watching. For those of us that kind of came down the Matt versus Japan pipeline to get to Refold, and now wherever we are, knowing about Project Uproot, do you feel that you've lost some respect in any regard for Matt versus Japan? Because I feel like he garnered a lot of respect through bringing forth Refold, which is very honest. Refold is very honest in what it tells you, and there's not a giant $500 paywall upfront cost to see what you could get out of it. But maybe I do feel like he's still very credible, but I do feel like I've lost a bit of respect from him. I know about uh, sorry, my bad. Some like a bit of a rocky past he's had with like the Migaku stuff, and you know, some people do comment on his character quite a bit, being perhaps egotistical, kind of arrogant maybe. But I still enjoy his content that he has put out. I just feel like Project Uproot has kind of tainted his reputation, maybe just a bit, until we can see if there is anything credible to the course. In terms of Ken Cannon, I thought he was cool at first, but now considering Project Uproot and understanding more about his past, I have no desire to interact with his content on any level. And something with Ken is that if you watched the video on their website about Project Uproot, he had like sort of um, he gave his backstory about how he improved his pitch, and he was talking about how it took him years to develop a good pitch. So, considering that, how much can you get out of a 60-day course down $500? I don't know. Once again, we'll have to see. But in terms of Japanese phonetics, I've heard pretty good things about Dogen's Japanese phonetics course, which he has on his Patreon. It's like $14. I've only heard good things about it. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I do plan on doing that. So I can only vouch and say, if you are someone who's also interested in Japanese phonetics to some degree, definitely look into that, as I will myself. Yeah. As a final note on that, I think ultimately, the obsession over sounding perfect is just kind of overblown. You know, it's I'm gonna sound how I'm gonna sound. I have an English voice. I don't have a Japanese voice. How good I can train my voice to imitate a Japanese person and imitate that prosody is definitely more important. than perfecting pitch before I can even speak. So yeah, that's that. I don't have much more to say, but I do have some closing, some final things to say. So if you made it this far in this video, half an hour so far, geez, thank you very much for watching. In terms of this video and my progress so far, I think I'm a good example of someone who's not balls to the wall kind of immersing. I'm very modestly every day working towards it, you know, a couple hours. Not because I can't immerse more, but just because I only do so much in a day. I could do more if I wanted. Props to you if you're someone who can pull like 8-hour days like it's a full-time job. I'm sure you're speeding past me if you're behind me, or you're getting to where you want to go fast. Good for you. I'm very excited to see where I'll be in another 6 months. Specifically because that's double my study time from now. How much better could I get in another 6 months now that I have most of the fundamentals down, and I only, you know, it doesn't feel like there's so many barriers in the way now. So yeah, 6 months, a year, where can I get to? In terms of ultimately, I keep using the same words over and over again, but studying Japanese has given me something to be proud about, I'd say. You know, years ago, when I kind of first started having more exposure to the language through watching anime and whatnot, and I did show interest in wanting to learn the language, I didn't because I thought people would think I was weird for learning it. And I thought it would be like, I was so like I was like 14 at the time, and I was so anti-cringe, like anything cringe was bad, and I couldn't do it. And so I didn't learn the language, and I definitely regret not having started sooner. But you know, we don't dwell on wasted time. So, but now that I'm well into learning Japanese, that I finally am in it, I'm in the thick of it now, I am very proud of it, and I really enjoy when people in my life inquire about it, ask me how it's going, just inquiring about it. I'm not going around telling people like, hey, I'm doing this about Japanese, because I don't want to sound like such a zealous weeb in a way. But yeah, I really enjoy that it's given me something to be proud about in terms of like an accomplishment. And so, yeah, if you're someone who's learning Japanese, or maybe not even Japanese, just any language, I hope you can relate to some degree to what I've said. It's nice to feel through watching these other videos, like other people's update videos, that we're all kind of walking the same path and feeling the progress and getting to somewhere we want to get to, which is just to be able to seamlessly interact with the language, which is great. I really enjoy watching other people make their update videos, especially people who are like just ahead of me, because it gives me a good kind of gauge, or I can kind of compare myself, not in a negative way, but I can see what they're doing, how they revise their study to their past videos, and how I could maybe also kind of piggyback off that and improve my own study methods, and just to see where they were, because it's interesting. It's a process, you know, we're all in it. So yeah, I'm sure people, if you are watching this video, if you're someone who's behind me in terms of time studied, that you'll find this video helpful in how you can improve your study. If you're someone who's following Refold specifically, really read what the roadmap says at specific points. That's something I did not have the diligence in doing, and I definitely think it hindered me in a lot of progress. But yeah, I don't have much else to say than that, so see you in another 3 months at the 9-month mark. It'll be exciting. Or maybe I'll make some other videos sooner. Uh, I don't really know what I'd make a video on if I do, but maybe sooner. I'll see if I could find something to talk about. But yeah, see you in another 3 months. Thanks so much for watching, and see ya. Bye.